All right, we're back again for football's next generation, and this week it's Norway. There's the likes of Erling Haaland. We've got Sander Berge. There's a plethora of talent coming out of Norway at the moment. We spoke to Dave Weatherston on Sunday's show about why and why they're coming through now and the best players coming out of Norway. But Jerome had a few himself we wanted to speak about, and obviously we can't not speak about the big names that are out there already. How you doing, Jerome?
Yeah, all good. Thanks. You all right?
I'm good. What you got for me this week then?
Right. God. So yeah, as you said, the some sort of exciting talent from Norway, and when you look at these players, it's sort of hard to understand how they didn't sort of qualify for the Euros because some of these players are exceptional. One of them, in fact, is if he's not world class already, he will be a world class player. I think we all know who that is. So maybe we'll start with him, which is obviously Haaland from Dortmund.
Yeah.
Now, what people might not know about him is that he was actually born in Leeds.
Yes.
So he could be playing for England instead of Norway.
He could have done. His dad was Alf Inge Haaland. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So he was he was born in Leeds when Alf Inge was playing there.
Because there was a little bit of footage when Norway played against Northern Ireland, and Haaland was waiting around for Dallas's shirt because Dallas plays for Leeds. And some people might have been wondering why he'd want to swap shirts with him, but that's why, because he's a massive Leeds fan. Yeah. Good bit of info there, Jerome.
Yeah, and because his old man used to play for Leeds, and they had such a big rivalry with Man United, especially with his dad and Roy Keane. So infamous challenge. There's an infamous challenge. That's got me thinking, like, maybe he wouldn't ever go to United. Maybe. I mean, with football, you never know.
Yeah, didn't his dad play for Man City as well?
Yeah, he did play for City.
He did.
Yeah, I think after Leeds, he played for City, perhaps. I think he played. I think that's when he was playing for City when
he broke his leg.
King done that challenge on him.
Yeah. So maybe we could see Erling Haaland at Man City and over Man United.
Yeah, I think he's got more chance of being at Man City or going to Ellen Road than.
Could you imagine if that one challenge just ruined any chance of him going to Man United?
That's it, yeah.
The hero that is Roy Keane would be gone from Man United.
That's it. Maybe that's why they moved for Cavani instead.
Maybe it is. It's not the kind of swap that I'd be happy about, but I mean, he's still a decent striker. But he's no Erling Haaland, man.
No, that's it. So, I mean, what can you say about Haaland? He's 20 years old. He averages nearly a goal a game. He's going to be breaking goal-scoring records left, right and centre, isn't he?
Yeah.
And with this player, it's just about where he ends up. I mean, you got to be thinking he's a player that could very easily get into, your Real Madrid, your Barcelona's, any team in the world really would snap him up. It's just about maybe what deal's going to be right for him and where he wants to go. But he's going to have the choice of pretty much any club in the world, isn't he?
And that's the thing with his release clause coming into play, not at the end of this season. I think it's the end of next season in 2022. I think it's like something's ridiculous, like 50-something million. So the teams will be lining up to sign him. He's got everything. He's got pace. He's got power. He can finish. He's good in the air. He looks like he's gearing up to be the complete striker. And it's obvious why the likes of Real Madrid and Man City and all these other clubs are after him.
Yeah, you know what it is. It's hard to find sort of an area where he's weak. Sometimes a player he might not be quick enough, or might not be strong enough, or there's always something. There's always a few aspects where they're not sort of right. But with this guy, you've really got to think long and hard about an area of his game that isn't very strong.
Yeah, and he's that. I think as well. Like with a player usually that size, you don't expect him to have that kind of finishing, or they might be good in the air, but not be good with finishing, or but might not have a great touch for a big lad or whatever. But he's got it all, and I think he's broken records at youth level. I think there was a game that Norway played at youth level where he scored something ridiculous like 7 goals plus in a game, and they won the game something like 15-0 or something ridiculous like that, and he smashed it. So yeah, no, he's always had it in him.
Yeah, mate, amazing player.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what, we'll talk about another striker next after Haaland, who's people that watch the Premier League will probably heard of, but he didn't really have much of an impact there. And I think looking at it, he was quite unlucky. And that's a striker that goes by the name of Alexander Sørloth.
Yeah.
So he went to Palace a couple of seasons ago. Palace paid £9 million for him. And he didn't really make a lot of appearances at Palace.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up going on loan from there to Ghent. And then he went on loan to Trabzonspor in Turkey. And he had a very successful season there. He ended up scoring 33 goals for them. And that is there's never been a foreigner for Trabzonspor that scored as many goals as that in a season.
And I mean, the Turkish league isn't like the best league in the world, but it's not the worst league in the world. They've got teams that play in the Champions League, and if you can score that many goals in that league, I mean, and at his age as well, that's no mean feat, man. That's still a very good season.
Yeah, well, I think when he came to Palace, they had high hopes for him, but it just didn't work out. And I think he's better than his time at Palace suggests. I mean, watching him play, he's very strong. He drops quite deep to link the play. He's got a very nice touch. He wins lots of flick-ons. He's sort of a good target man, or a good player to sort of play for maybe a quicker striker to play alongside. But he's only 24 still, so you know he's got plenty of years ahead of him.
Do you know it reminds me of? Sorry, it reminds me of like when John Dale Thomason went to Newcastle,
right,
and then didn't really have a good time there, but then went on to like AC Milan and became like an icon at AC Milan, smashing in goals left, right, and centre. It's just sometimes it's not the right move for them at that right age, especially when they've been so hyped up at a youth level and just beyond that. They make that big move, and it's just maybe a bit too early.
Yeah, I think we tend to think that if someone's a good player, they can play for any team. But sometimes the player might not suit that team, and the player ends up looking bad or not as good as you think. But in fact, that might not be the case, and he might not have linked well with the other forwards he was working with, the wingers perhaps. There's so many reasons. There's so many reasons why it doesn't work out, and. Now, obviously, this club suits him, Sørloth, and he's having a good time at the moment, and you know, long may it continue for his sake.
Yeah, definitely, exactly what you're saying, and there's so many different variables as well. It's like exactly what you're saying there. It might not be the right style of play. It might not be the right coach. He might not have made friends. He might not have settled in the area. There's so many little things that could stop a player from hitting his peak at a club. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Yeah. So that's him. So next we'll move on to a player that's playing in the Premier League at the moment, and that's the guy that you mentioned at the top of the show, Sander Berge. 22-year-old central midfielder, 6'5". He actually signed for Sheffield United in January of 2020, but obviously Sheffield United had quite a settled side. They pretty much played the same 11 pretty much every week, didn't they? Really, but they signed him for a lot of money, 22 million euros, and he was linked heavily with, you know, some European big boys, Napoli, Liverpool. He looks like a very smooth, comfortable on the ball footballer. Excellent technique. Although he's only 22, he seems to have like quite a good maturity about his game.
Yeah, very cultured, isn't he?
Very cultured. Now, he's not physically, he's not the same as this player in terms of how he looks, but someone he reminded me of the way he sort of moves with the ball. Do you remember Jordi Gomez that played for Wigan?
Oh yeah. I remember him.
No, just the way he moves with the ball. Very, very cultured.
Yeah.
Looks like you look at them and you're like, you're a footballer. Like, you're a natural footballer. But this, I think Sheffield United they done really well to get him.
Yeah, they did.
He started off the season pretty well, and For Norway, I'm sure he's going to do great things for them.
Yeah,
and
nice.
possibly go on to bigger things.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of clubs were in for Sander Berge, and I think Sheffield Wednesday will be a stepping stone. And to be fair, it's probably a good stepping stone for him, because you don't want to get swallowed up by going to one of these big clubs. With all the clubs that were in for him, like the likes of Man United were in for him, would he be sitting in Man United's midfield right now, or would he be sitting on the bench? And it's one of them things. So I think he's probably made the right move to make sure he gets good game time.
Exactly, and he'll be playing against proper strong competition every week.
Yeah, exactly.
So whether wherever he moves next, it won't be the case. Oh, he only did it in a not a great league. This is like he's done it. He's done it in the Prem.
Yeah,
like one of the best leagues in the world. So
Sheffield United as well. So yeah.
So very good player there. Now we'll move on to a player that's plying his trade in Italy, and that is Gen's Petter Hauge.
Oh yeah.
Sort of it's sometimes it's hard to like pinpoint actual players' positions. I would describe him maybe as a playmaker / winger, but he's not really a wide player.
No, he's not.
It's hard to nail down a position.
He's just very energetic. He's good on the ball. He's very direct. But I know what you mean. Yeah. He looks like he should play wing, but he's not. And he looks like he could be an attacking midfielder, but he's not. You just put him on the pitch and just say go.
Because when you think of a winger, I guess you think of someone that gets down the line and puts crosses in, but he doesn't get down the line, put cross in. He plays from the left with his right foot, will cut inside and do all his good work in those sort of central areas. Draws a lot of fouls.
It reminds me a bit like Dirk Kuyt used to play, where he's not quite a forward, he's not a winger, he's not an attacking midfielder. He could just be any of them.
Yeah, you just describe him as like a forward player.
Yeah.
And that's great, because when you're playing in forward positions and you're taking up different areas on the pitch, it's obviously a lot harder to mark just by, just because, if your teammates might not know where you're going, then the opposition ain't going to know where you're going.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Makes it harder to defend against. So he's only just joined AC Milan, only made a couple of appearances so far. Made one appearance for Norway. Again, only 21, so a young player, and another one that's playing now for a top European club. It's
and he actually played against AC Milan in the Europa League for Bodo Glimt. Scored a goal. I think he got an assist as well. Smashed it against him, and then ended up buying him. So he obviously done the job while he was playing against him.
That could have got him the move. That could have sealed the deal.
Exactly. I think it did seal the deal. I mean, people knew about him, but it's one thing doing it in Norway. It's another thing doing it against AC Milan. And if you can get him for 5 million, like what Dave was saying on Sunday, I think that you can't. It's a win-win. You're not going to lose out on 5 million. You're going to sell him more than 5 million. It's not a risk at all, man. It's not a risk at all. So I think we're going to see a lot more players from Norway if 5 million's the top end that you usually have to play for a top player like that. Yeah,
definitely. So the final Norwegian that we'll talk about tonight is someone that I guess we'll probably hear of in a few years' time rather than sort of immediately in the next season or so. And that is a player called Odin Thiago Holm. A 17-year-old midfielder who still plays in Norway for a team called Vålerenga. Now, he actually had trials, I believe, at Liverpool, and Juventus were interested in him as well, but he wanted to stay in Norway, and he was sort of promised promotion to the first team where he's playing now. And he's now in the first team, and so they've sort of kept their promise. He's a midfielder with a lot of vision, creativity. He played for a team last year in the third division of Norwegian football when he was 16.
Men's team as well. That's good.
Yeah, right in midfield. And he probably is, I'd say, apart from these 20 and 21-year-olds, probably their sort of maybe brightest prospect at that sort of age. Odin Thiago Holm, a name for the future.
And that's the thing as well, what they like to do over in Norway. Like, we've got Martin Odegaard, who did the same thing. He was playing for a third division Norwegian team at the age of 15, 16, and then gets bought by Real Madrid. Okay, when he got to Real Madrid, it took him a few years to get through, but it just shows what you can sort of achieve by putting these youngsters in a men's football at a younger age as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's better, isn't it, to play regular men's football than to be playing against maybe people of your own age group in the youth teams. And they always say, don't they? You know, if you play with better players, you're gonna improve your game.
Yeah, and I understand what they did for the under-23s, because there was, with the under-23s, it was almost as if it was like you had your reserve team, then you had your just aging players sitting in your reserve teams. Youth players weren't really getting into it, and there was no real competitiveness in the reserve leagues as well. It was just like arranged games. Whereas the under-23s, it has more competitiveness because it's something that the youngsters are trying to achieve, and they feel like they've won something going from that, and it's the next step. But it's kind of, it needs revamping. I think it needs that men's element to it. Like we've seen in Norway, we've seen in Holland, where they had their second teams. In Spain, they had their second teams. Will it work in England? I think they need to work to do something to work around it, because I think there needs to be something where these youth players are getting exposed to actual men's competitive football at an earlier age.
Yeah, it would be a big change, but I think the benefits would be great for everyone, really. But yeah, maybe it might be a bit of a sort of, I don't know if you would use the term radical, but it would just mean that you'd be changing something that's been fixed for quite a while.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something different. It's just something different, and maybe with the situation that some of these clubs are in, it seems harsh, where some of these clubs maybe not survive. Maybe it is a time to maybe put some of these youth teams in place of those teams that won't be able to carry on in football, maybe in the lower leagues. So I don't know, just a suggestion out there for the FA, Premier League 2 and 3. We're doing some consultancy work, me and Jerome. So we'll talk about budgets if you want to talk about pay, and we can sort this out later on.
Exactly.
I love that, Jerome. Thanks for that. Next week, I said we'll be doing Arsenal this week, but I promise you next week, people, it's going to be an Arsenal one. We're looking at the new Zlatan Ibrahimovic, they say. A couple of the youngsters that have been brought in the summer from Arsenal. We're going to be catching up with how the likes of George Lewis are doing, and a couple of the other youngsters. So, yeah, it should be a good one.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, look forward to that.
All right. Thank you very much for tonight, Jerome. I will speak to you in a bit, mate.
Pleasure. See ya.
All right. Take care, man.